Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside TK, Tommy Chrysan. TK joining us on this Friday morning edition over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood over in Baton Rouge. Mike Tremonti and the gang over there. We got football season cranking up, and Tremonti's is the place to be for all your tailgating needs. I am at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Big announcement coming on September 11th. September 11th is when we'll announce the 2025 Hall of Fame class. It has been selected. It is a top secret, and we will announce it to the world on September the 11th. And of course, we're presented by LeBear's Casino. LeBear's Casino, TK, myself will be over there tomorrow for Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to noon at Sportsbook at LeBear's, which will be ESPN bets. They are any day now. They'll be making a switch and putting up the signs and all that at the Sportsbook. And of course, it is going to be popping. Saturday, we've got college football, 11 a.m. Central Time kick over in Ireland. It is underway. So the sportsbook people will be starting to put their bets in. I know, and when we're over there on Saturday mornings doing our show from 10 to noon, usually that's about the time that folks are coming in, making their bets for the day. Obviously, that first game generally starts at 11. So guys are coming in, putting all their, getting a lot of them are getting their bets for the day before they head out or something. We see them over there studying the sheets, studying the books, studying their phones, going over to the kiosk, going up to the window, having conversations, asking questions with the folks at the sports book. It's a lot of fun. So we're at that time of the year. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, we're going to talk. LSU's got some news and notes. Obviously, we in football, 7 and 18 are famous numbers. They have announced who's going to be wearing those numbers. Tommy will tell you all about that. SEC baseball, big announcement regarding the SEC tournament. We'll get into that. LSU, US and Southern Cal, big line movement. Big movement. The Tigers were a 6.5-point favorite at one point in this game. No longer. Tommy will tell you where that line has plummeted to. Also, some news out of Major League Baseball regarding Paul Skeens. A manager's been fired. And a whole lot more. TK, let's start with LSU football. A couple of big stories, right, about the line over against Southern Cal. What's going on with that? And then also, who's going to be wearing those famous numbers? And I'll have an opinion on that, 7 and 18.
Yeah, well, 4.5 points is now the spread. LSU's still the favorite. Over and under didn't move, 63.5. But the spread dropped 2 points. Now, Southern Cal announced their starting quarterback a couple of days ago, and he did throw 6 touchdowns in a bowl game last year. And, maybe there's some people out, some of the wise guys are among those who don't know that the LSU defense is going to be way better. Certainly everybody thinks they're going to be better, but some people are just still skeptical. Maybe that's why the line moved. We got, 9 days till kickoff. You'll be out there in Vegas. So we'll see if that line moves anymore. It was, normally you don't see it move that much that quickly. Now, LSU's got a couple of traditions. Number 7, number 18. Number 7 this year will be worn by linebacker Harold Perkins and offensive tackle Will Campbell. Now, Campbell can't wear 7 playing on the offensive line, so it'll be like a patch thing on his jersey signifying the number 7. And then a couple of seniors are going to wear number 18. I guess that all started with Matt Malk, Jacob Hester, Josh Williams, the running back, and Greg Penn, the third linebacker, going to wear number 18 for the Tigers. That's become a tradition there. It's become a big thing. And Coach Brian Kelly made that announcement yesterday officially of those 4 guys that are honored to be given those numbers. The big thing inside the locker room at LSU football.
Perkins, this will be his 3rd different number in 3 years. He was 46, number 4, and then now he's going to be number 7 for Harold Perkins. Not as big deal for him, but it is an honor. And listen, those are 2 pretty good number 7s. Both of them expected to be, Will Campbell's, of course, expected to be a first-round pick and first-team All-American. Harold Perkins has a chance to be a first-team All-American. 18, Josh Williams. Guy's been, just a study veteran, does the right things, getting the most out of his talent type player. And Greg Penn, of course, just leader on that defense. I have a feeling, though, Tommy, a lot of these traditions, the number traditions, are just unfortunately going to lose a lot of its luster. They're not going to mean as much, in the transfer portal world. I mean, they mean something when you've been in a school for 2, 3, 4 years, and you know about the traditions, and you've seen guys, veterans before you, wear the number and what it means to the fans and what it means to those players. Now you roll in and like, why are you giving me 7? I don't want to be 7. I want to be 81. Well, 7's a big deal around here. Really? I got to be 7? You know what I mean? Like that. It's just the way of the world now.
Well, Ronnie, many years ago, I'm going back 20 years ago, there were a handful of teams that would have, two guys with number 5, somebody on offense, somebody on defense. That used to aggravate me, I guess, the old guy thing. And, now I kind of got past that because all teams do it. Every team's got, offensive number 18, defensive number 18, or whatever the number might be. But I agree with you. You're going to lose that luster a little bit because the reason it was born was that guy that paid his dues, was a team leader, in a locker room, on the practice field, on the sideline. It's just a little bit different now. No question about that. But I don't think the LSU is going to go away with it. It's just not going to have as much glitter on it as it did, as it does now, and certainly as it did years ago, because of the ever-changing landscape of college football or professional football, minor league, known as college football, however you want to word it.
Yeah. It's I think we're just going to have to all get our brains. It's going to take time. We're going to all have to get our brains used to just this new world. We can't talk about the past anymore from a standpoint of, because pine for it, because it's not going to ever be here again. It's not going to happen. It's sort of like getting used to paying players, as a former LSU baseball guy. LSU's won 7 national championships in baseball. 6 of those, no players were paid. The 7th one, Tommy White transfers in the NIL days, and he's making $250,000 or more, right, playing for baseball. And as former players, we have to get used to that. And you know what we got to do? We got to give. We got to give back to the program, whatever it is, $100 a year, $500 a year, $1,000 a year, whatever. And that's hard for a lot of people to get used to. Well, why do I need to pay? That's just so Well, listen, do you want LSU to be good? Do you want them to be relevant? If you don't care, if it's okay for LSU baseball or LSU athletics or your favorite college, not just LSU, your favorite college, to just, wallow in obscurity or just to pine for, man, remember when we used to be so good? I mean, remember when Tulane was in the SEC? Remember, like, you want to be that? You look back on history and go, man, we used to be a powerhouse before this whole NIL thing. We can do that, and you can not feel oogie and not give money and not donate and not do those things, and everyone will pass you by, or you can go, hey, this is the new norm. This is the new norm. Yes, you're going to get bad service and at a drive-through when you order your fast food, other than Chick-fil-A or maybe at Raising Cane's or Smalls. You're going to get bad service. They're not going to look in your eye. They're not going to say thank you. They're not going to say please. Just give them the money and take the food. You know what I mean? Like, or we can bitch about it and make a big deal and never go there anymore. Like, we just have to get used to the new norm. And I think NIL and the transfer portal and guys not really caring about 7 or 18, is the new norm, Tommy.
I agree on everything you said there, and it's just the way it's going to go now. There's already been a meeting a couple of weeks ago about the Group of 5 conferences of trying to start maybe their own playoff thing. This won't happen overnight, but it's going to happen. Okay, it's going to happen because of money. But money has just changed everything. And for an old guy like me, like you said, I got to wrap my head around it, not let it bother me, just accept it for what it is. And then I still want fans to be able to enjoy the football game or the baseball game or the cross country meet or the basketball game or golf tournament, whatever it is. But the ingredients are a lot different now. It's a different recipe to get the final product, and it is what it is. It's kind of like when the portal first came out in NIL. The smart coaches said, "Hey, we got to embrace this because this is going to be here. It's not changing." Fans are going to have to embrace all the things you just mentioned because it's not going to change. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unscramble the egg. Okay. So, I mean, that's where it is.
What's going to be interesting is I think coaches are going to eventually start getting paid less. They're going to have to. There's just only so much money, right?
Well, you saw Alabama hired a general manager to manage their NIL, paying them $825,000 a year just to manage NIL. That's going to happen, and then that'll create, the haves and the have-nots. Where, in a few years we're going to have this super conference or super alignment or whatever you want to call it of the people with the big money. Ohio State's reported they got a $20 million budget. Brian Kelly said LSU spending 14 to 17 million. Ole Miss is above 18 million according to reports. Not that these reports are scientific and perfect, but you got to know that they're somewhere in the ballpark.
Well, there's teams like all businesses have to do a budget. They have to say, okay, a projected budget. Obviously, things can change, but Tom Brady took less money so that he could have better players around him. Right. I mean, that throughout his career, he never took that max contract that he could have. And he did that so that there was enough money left over within their cap, within their budget, so that they could be really good. There's going to be those situations, I believe, with coaches. Hey, you get $10 million a year, or do you want to take $7 million a year and leave $3 so that we can make sure you're good so that you can get $70 million a year for the rest of your life? Or you want to hit us hard for 2 years to get fired and then that's it, or do you, they can't do these $80 million, $100 million contracts like they did with Jimbo. Again, there's only so much money. And we get rid of coaches really fast. There's too many precedents now of programs eating it because they let go of coaches. And so I really think that there's going to be a shift to where the coaches over time, over the next few years, don't just keep – right now, the trajectory is like this with coaches' salaries. It's going to have to either flatten out or even decline a little bit so that some of that money can go back into the players. As a coach, do you want to try to squeeze blood out of a turnip for 2 years and then get fired? Or would you rather make sure you're really good and maybe stick around for 10 years on that staff?
Well, I think you're going to see coaches start doing it. Some have already done it with baseball players who defer to salary. And Shohei Ohtani's done that. I mean, we noticed Bobby Bonilla still gets $1 million a year on July 1st. He's going to do that for 10 more years from the Mets. So, your coaches are going to say, okay, don't give me $10 million, give me $6 million, but I want, $1.4 million a year for 10 years after I'm gone, and the schools will do that because, like you said, they don't have all that money in the bank, but they're chasing that money. And TV contracts are only going to make it go up. The expansion of the playoffs means more revenue for schools. Conference expansion, like in the SEC, means more money. So for each school at the end of the day, it's just there's a budget, but is there a budget? I guess is the question. I mean, the Rougarou have a budget. You're not flying to Seguin. You're not flying to Brazos Valley. You're taking a bus because that fits the budget. Well, the haves in college football and college sports, I guess basketball and some baseball, they don't have a budget. They're going to do what they got to do to keep up and try to win and satisfy their fan base. Because the fan base is satisfied, then that money's coming in, like you said, that $100 a year or $1,000 a year or that one-time pop of $15,000 and call me back in a couple of years. I'll see what I got for you. That's where it's at.
SEC baseball. Big news came out that, listen, for 27 years, the SEC tournament has been played in Hoover, but now with expansion of Texas and Oklahoma and the conference is going more west now and more spread out. There was some conversation about, hey, should the SEC tournament necessarily be every year in Hoover? Maybe we should rotate it. Maybe we should play it some years in Dallas or something and some years in Hoover or Atlanta and Dallas or whatever. And the SEC went ahead and signed a contract 2-year extension to extend the tournament in Hoover through 28 with an option for a couple of years after that. That's the league option for 2 more years after that. What's your thoughts on the SEC tournament? Should it rotate in your opinion?
I'm kind of split on that. They moved the SEC Media Days to Dallas because of the addition of Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. And that might have got promised to them when they were trying to get them to say, hey, we're in. But, Hoover's become a tradition, kind of like Omaha. And Omaha is a lot longer than Hoover. I like the idea of it being Hoover. It's a good setup. It's fan friendly. The park and everything's great. But I guess I can understand the argument of, okay, it should move around. Do you put it somewhere in the state of Texas? Do you put it in Atlanta? Do you maybe put it in South Florida? I mean, I don't know, or Gainesville. I mean, I think the idea of Hoover is good. It's a minor league park. They've sunk tons of money into that park over the years. And I would be just fine with leaving it in Hoover, just like, I don't know that they'll ever not play it in Omaha, especially they built a new stadium there. The funds there. It's just a thing. But, money makes things change, and we'll see. I vote for it staying in Hoover.
I'm not real sure how Texas or Oklahoma feels about it. I don't know what their opinion is on it. I would assume that they would probably be open to, hey, why don't we move it around a little bit? Because it's all about, Hoover was centrally located, to a certain degree before, especially, SEC headquarters being in Birmingham, and all, it made sense. It was, this, again, we're talking 27 years ago when the tournament started being on the regular. Now, it was in Hoover before that, but they had moved it to Montgomery. They'd had it in New Orleans once. They'd moved it around a little bit, but it had been in Hoover before. But for the last 27, it's been in Hoover straight. And it made sense at the time, especially for being right close to the SEC offices and whatnot. If the SEC played its tournament wherever, Tommy, it would sell out. It would do great. It would be packed crowds. So the SEC is at a point to where if they decided to play it in Frisco, Texas, at an unbelievable minor league ballpark in Frisco, Texas, or Grapevine, or any of these places that have ballparks all over Texas, there are great minor league ballparks. If they decided to play it in Memphis, the AAA ballpark for the Cardinals, or Nashville, or wherever. They wanted to play it in Tampa, at the home of the Rays. I mean, like the league is at a point where wherever you put it, it's going to have big crowds. Everybody's going to have a wonderful time. It's going to be a great facility. The question is, do you have value in that tradition of being in Hoover? We know that Hoover, like Omaha, rolls out the red carpet and everybody's used to it, but it is right down the road from Tuscaloosa. It's right down the road from Starkville. There are teams and fan bases that have a tremendous advantage getting there and having a presence versus the fan bases that have to come from far away, like in Texas A&M and Missouri and, at Texas and Oklahoma. So it would be fair to move it around. I don't know if they would.
Yeah, and again, you got to have the right park. Okay, you can't play it at a major league place because you can't, have them on the road that long, a major league team. But a minor league park like Hoover, and there's many others around the Southeast, and I guess into Texas that would be practical. Ronnie, I'm going to go in the old memory bank here. If memory served me correctly, in 1992, the tournament was in the Superdome, and you were on the all-tournament team for Southeastern Conference. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, 1992. I tell you, it was a lot of fun. We got a chance. Well, I was very fortunate. A lot of baseball players at LSU from probably 1986, I'd say maybe 86, 87, 86 till 2002, maybe something like that. They used to have the Winn-Dixie Busch Challenge, Busch beer. The Busch Challenge was called. Then it became the Winn-Dixie Showdown. And so for all those years, for at least about 15, 16 years, you would play in the month of February, late February, you would play 3 games in the Superdome. LSU, Tulane would play 3 other teams from a given state. And it was a sort of a challenge, Louisiana versus, that state. And it was an awesome deal. And then in 1992, the SEC tournament was played there. And we had a chance to play all week in the Dome. And we won it that year. And look, the great thing about the Dome, it wasn't the atmosphere was the best for, say, an SEC tournament, especially the Superdome, just such a large. I mean, you'd have 10,000 people. It didn't feel like 10,000 because you're in a big stadium that holds 60 plus in football, 70,000 in football. And so it wasn't the same atmosphere, but the thing that was nice was you never had to worry about the weather, never worried about the heat, never had to worry about the rain. Everything ran on time. I mean, there's some value in that tremendously when you're doing, big tournaments all week long. Look at how many times we've had to Hey, LSU's playing today at 7 o'clock tonight. No, they're not. They're playing at 11. LSU's playing at 3. No, they're not. They're playing at 6:30. Because of the weather and the rain and all that sort of thing. And so you didn't have those issues with the dome. But no chance of playing in the dome. That washed away with Katrina. Katrina came and the dome was reconfigured afterwards, redesigned to where it's not even a possibility. Plus, they don't even have the field. They had a special baseball tarp and field and turf that was rolled up. That was underneath the stands. All that's gone. So don't ever think that they'll ever have a baseball exhibition or anything baseball in the Superdome ever again.
I agree with you completely. As great as that building is, there's not going to be any more baseball. Maybe some little t-ball games. Maybe some little kids could play in the corner one day at halftime of the Saints game. But no, it's not going to happen.
We were talking about SEC football earlier with LSU and then SEC baseball. Let's go back to SEC football for a minute. Some big, there's 16 teams now. No East and West this year. Top 2 teams advance to Atlanta. Well, there's a pretty good chance with 16 teams that the top 2 teams may not be cut and dry. It may not be that there's a clear, okay, here's your record in the conference. So a tiebreaker system came out. Now, I can't see a situation where the tiebreaker gets past the third tiebreaker, but why don't you tell us who the top three tiebreakers are in case teams end up with the same record?
Well, the first one obviously is head-to-head competition. If LSU and Alabama would be tied for second or tied for first, then whoever won that matchup in November would win that tiebreaker. Then they get into your record against common conference opponents, okay? Then they get to the conference opponents' winning percentage, common ones. So that, every game's got value. And there's, a couple other little intricate things. And then the bottom is a random drawing. I don't think they'll ever get to that. I'm thinking either head-to-head or, the common conference opponents or winning percentage of common conference opponents will separate it. And lo and behold, everybody's thinking that, but you might have a team that's, clear-cut 8-0 and another team that's 7-1 and everybody else 6-2, and then it would be clear-cut who's going to go. So, we'll wait and see. That game's in December, as always, in Atlanta. And I'm going to get on the boat that, hey, there's going to need to do some kind of tiebreaker thing because there's no East-West. I mean, because East-West actually had tiebreakers. It just never really came into playoff.
So head-to-head, which is clear, everyone can figure that out. Your record against common opponents. So let's say LSU and Alabama are tied. This is a situation where you would have a 3-way tie or a situation where 2 teams don't play each other, right? So if you go head to head, hey, LSU and Missouri are tied. Right. Let's say it's a year where LSU don't play Missouri. Okay, bam. Then you go to record against common opponents. All right, Missouri played Florida, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. So did LSU. What's their record against those 4 teams? And then next is your winning percentage, not against common opponents because it'd be the same winning percentage. Your winning percentage against your entire SEC opponents, because do you have a harder schedule than Missouri? That's what you're trying to find out, or whoever you're tied with. So I don't see it getting past that third spot ever, but at the end of the day, there are some other legalities. And then at the end, it just basically comes down to pull names out of a bag, which nobody wants to see that.
I guess the best thing is they have a plan if it gets to that, and it's in black and white. Anybody can pull it up and read it. It was a press release by the conference. I'm sure it's on the conference website somewhere. And so everybody knows the rules going in. And that's one thing you like about things is you got to know how it's going to be. Now, you might not like how it shakes out that first week of December, but the rules are in place and we know what to expect.
All right, before we get out of here, tell us a couple of bits of information about MLB baseball. Big night for Paul Skeens. Everybody had started to write him off a little bit, like, hey, they might be shutting Skeens down. Boy, he's really turned the last couple of weeks. Hasn't been the same Paul Skeens. What's wrong with Paul Skeens? Well, there's nothing wrong with Paul Skeens.
I watched him pitch yesterday, Ronnie. Won a couple of bucks on him. He picked up his 8th win of the year, threw 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, no runs, walked 1, struck out 9. He was very dominant. The plate was kind of wide. He got a lot of calls, but that happens in baseball. And he gets his 8th win of the year in a dominant fashion. Now, the Pirates are not in good shape. They're about 7 games out of the playoff spot. But they announced today, their manager, Shelton, said, hey, we're not shutting him down, but we are going to be careful. He's never going to get a short amount of rest. He's going to have his regular rest or an extra day depending on some other factors going forward. 'Cause they realize, I mean, they're hoping this guy pitches for them for 10 years and, gets that organization into the playoff runs and make deep playoff runs. He's that good. I mean, everybody, now that they've seen him, he's 8-2. I think it was his 18th start yesterday. Everybody that's seen him says they haven't seen anything like it. Everybody, and I don't just mean Ben McDonald, but many of the other, baseball gurus, if you will, are saying that we haven't seen anything like this. When this guy's on, he threw 4 pitches over 100 miles an hour in the first inning yesterday. Okay, and I mean, and then his breaking ball, his splinker, as he calls it. I mean, if he's on like he was yesterday against the Cincinnati Reds, it's man versus boys. And finally, and it wasn't nothing game. There were about 4 innings, and all of a sudden the Pirates got 6, added another one. They won 7-0. He came out of the game leading 6-0. And you had a hope that the bullpen not going to blow that. And of course they didn't, but it was the Reds who aren't real good.
Scott Service fired as the manager. He was the longest standing manager, 9 years over there. Former Skip Bertman, right? Didn't he play for Skip on that '88 Olympic team? I think maybe.
Yeah, and
or maybe
on June 18th, the Mariners had a 5-game lead in their division. Now they're like out of the playoffs. They fired the hitting coach. They fired the bench coach. They did all this different stuff, and now it finally came down. The guy's been there 9 years. 9 years as a manager. He's out. The Mariners' problem's hitting and offense. They got really good pitching. They got one of the best pitching staffs, one of the best bullpens in baseball. But when you don't score runs, you don't win. You can't win if you don't score runs.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that correctly. Service was on that 1988 Olympic team catcher. Skip Bertman was the pitching coach of that '88 Olympic team that had Ben McDonald and Jim Abbott on it and all that, and won a gold medal over in Seoul, South Korea. TK, tell us about Tremonti's before we get out of here, and we'll see everybody tomorrow morning, 10 to noon on ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge. We'll be live at LeVare's.
Yeah, we got Tremonti's for all your tailgating needs, food and drink, your party platters. They can custom make a tailgating order for you. Or if you're at home watching the game, you got people coming over, you got to bring something the way you're going. They got everything you need at Tremonti's. And then, of course, all the wine, the liquor, the beer, everything you need, all your tailgating needs are here. Lunch special today, fried catfish with crawfish etouffee on it. Tomorrow, barbecue ribs for lunch. That's a big hit. They always sell out, so get here and get that thing in. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood right here on Jefferson. As Ronnie said, don't forget Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Join us live and in color from the ESPN Sportsbook at LeVare's. Ronnie and I will be there. Hunter McCann will be in the house tomorrow. That's all at the LeVare's Casino in Baton Rouge. Don't forget the Edge Lounge. Live entertainment out there at the casino as well. Hey, appreciate everybody tuning in today. Like and share this show. Like and share it, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X. That helps everybody out that's involved. Like and share this show. Radio tomorrow. More Sports Shorts Daily on Monday. On behalf of everybody here at Tremonti's, Ronnie Rance, I'm Tommy Krysan. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you on the radio.